the September 3rd, 2020.
Wait 1 second.
Oh, okay.
The YouTube live thing's taking a second.
No, you're fine. Just let me know.
Okay, you're good to go.
Okay, we will call the September 3rd, 2020 Marquette City Board of Zoning Appeals meeting to order. Roll call. I guess we can just have Andrea kind of take that down since we're all on screen here. I know we do have Ms. Dombrowski is absent and unexcused at this point, but hopefully she hops on. I suppose we can discuss that further later at this point, though. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at the minutes of August 6th?
Yes.
Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'd like to make motion to approve and accept minutes as presented.
I'll second his motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Good, okay. Motion carries unanimously for the minutes of last week. Andrea, do we have any additions or deletions from the agenda tonight?
Yes, I'd like to note, Ms. Dombrowski is now in the meeting, so now we're at 7. And then I have 4 pieces of correspondence for the agenda item 2A 07 VAR 0920. So I'd like to get those added.
Okay, we can add those obviously when we get to the point where you're going to read the other ones anyway. So,
Yep, if you want to, wouldn't need a motion to get those added to the agenda though.
okay, well, can we get a motion to add the correspondence to the agenda, please?
I'd like to make a motion to add the correspondence to the agenda.
I second.
We have a motion and support. All those in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously, added to the agenda. Okay, as we move forward in the agenda, citizens wishing to address the board. I know we have a couple people in the waiting room, but I'm assuming they're just the people for their cases, right?
Correct.
Okay. I mean, I suppose we can ask them if they would like to come on at this point.
I do have, so I have 3. Do you want me to bring one in at a time?
Yeah, we can bring them in one at a time.
Okay. Okay.
Still waiting for them to connect, it looks like.
Hello.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Okay.
I
You're,
am Sam Motley Fool. Behind me is Landmark Mall.
Oh, if you wanna turn your if you have
I'm trying to get,
something going on in the background, great.
If I just,
hang on a minute. We're,
Okay.
I'm new at this, so.
That's
there you
okay. That's okay. Okay, so we are at the portion of our agenda. If you would like to address the board at this point, if you can. Not regarding your case action. We're going to be touching on your case assessment here, just an additional spot on the agenda for anyone.
No.
So just one.
Jeremy,
Yeah. you
your
keep-
audio is
keep
cutting out
cutting
pretty
out, yeah.
substantially, but
Yeah.
we do not need to do additional comment, just our own item.
We have an item to talk about during that time, so,
okay, wait, I'll move you back to the waiting room.
okay.
Hey, Andrea, just a quick note. Maybe when people come on, everyone should mute if they're not speaking. That could be the cause of the echo.
Yeah, it sounded like they may actually have a delay in theirs too. So
Yeah.
it was kind of loud when when I was talking, you could hear in the background.
How would I mute mine?
So on your screen, if you're using a computer, like on mine, it's on the lower left-hand side. You might have to hover over and you'll get the bottom where it says, well, the participants chat, screen share, record, and all the way to the left, there's a mute button.
Bottom left, you said?
Yes, at least it is on my.
Oh, I see it.
What a girl. Carol, we just brought you on, it looks like. We are at the spot in our agenda where we're at citizens wishing to address the board. This is regarding any of our public hearings tonight. If you're here for a different public hearing and to speak on that public hearing, you certainly don't have to talk now, but we just don't know who's really in the waiting room. So we wanted to check if anyone wanted to talk about something random.
No, my husband is also going to be zooming in, and we're just here to talk about our fence.
Perfect.
We're on the agenda. Forest
Yes.
car and tree run. Thank you.
Just wanted to make sure. Andrea? You muted, do you guys too?
There we go. Sorry. So Kara, so Forrest in the waiting room is with your case and your husband?
Yeah, and I would actually like to have him log on so I can turn off here and go into the basement and sit next to him, if that's
Okay.
okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, perfect. So since we know we don't have any citizens wishing to address the board at this point, we're going to move forward and actually get to the public hearings. So why don't we touch base with public hearing 07 VAR-09-20, which is 429 East Michigan Street. Andrea, if you could give us the background on that, please.
The Board of Zoning Appeals is being asked to review an application for a 4.5-foot side yard variance from the City of Marquette Land Development Code to allow a 16-foot by 16-foot one-story addition to the home located at 429 East Michigan Street. Attached in the agenda was the staff report analysis with the following. Sorry. On screen, I'm showing you the staff report, which includes information about the parcel, surrounding zoning district standards, and the standards that the Board of Zoning Appeals reviews. And the attachments include the application that was submitted by the applicant with their support material. Area map, the parcel is outlined in blue. The block map, the parcel is outlined in blue. Photos of the site. An existing location sketch with the previous ordinance standards, which are you can see the different side yards. The location sketch with the ordinance standards of today with the existing and proposed items. The portion of the proposal that where they're requesting the variance is this 16-foot by 16-foot addition, which will be 3.5 feet from the side yard. And then they have floor plans. And then there was correspondence that was submitted prior to the agenda being posted. And then I received 4 additional pieces of correspondence after the agenda was posted. Is it all right, Mr. Chairman, if I read that now?
Yes, please.
This is from Russell Fear. Andrea, I am writing in support of allowing the addition to Greg and Babette's home on the East Michigan Street. It is my understanding that they want to put an accessible bathroom off the backside of the house they plan to retire in. I have seen much of Greg's work and he is an outstanding craftsman. I can see no point in denying them this freedom of choice. Respectfully submitted, Russ Fear, 442 East Michigan. Then one from Darlene Dreisbach. For the record, the initial email had the wrong, it was a typo with the address. So I'm just gonna read the correct address. My husband and I live at 430 East Michigan Street. Changes to the 429 structure will not affect us. Our concern is for the neighbors on either side of Greg and Babette. We have lived in our home for 36 years, and the Maynards for 20, and the Kipkas probably for 40 years. They were here before we were. We're all very invested and attached to our neighborhood. The house at 429 is very close to the houses on each side. I do not want the neighbors to have to lose more of that small space between houses or to have construction occur that will change the quality of life they have enjoyed for decades. Greg and Babette have owned the property for a relatively short period of time. It is an income producing property for them. They established it as a B&B, which the neighbors have been very accepting of, but they have never lived there. They can't possibly be as attached to the property as those of us who have a long history on our block. We love Greg and Babette and would be happy to have them as close neighbors, but perhaps this property is too small and close to their immediate neighbors to be appropriate for their construction plans. Sincerely, Darlene Dreisbeck. As a resident of 436 East Michigan, approximately 45 years, I too am opposed to granting a variance on the property at 429 East Michigan. I feel that the property lines are already close enough to the houses on either side of this property. I think that as neighbors, we have already been considerate in agreeing to turn this property into a B&B. If you have questions, please feel free to contact me. Ann Ingman, 436 East Michigan. Okay. Dear Andrea Landers, I am writing to request this following correspondence and Babette Welch's be entered in the record and read aloud at the public hearing on Thursday, September 3rd, regarding Babette Welch and Greg Sipo's request for a variance for their property at 429 East Michigan Street, parcel number 0171851. I was requesting a side yard variance, which they protested. Please note that for her, it was specifically the side yard variance and the building separation, which was a problem when it applied to somebody else, but apparently no longer now that it applies to her. As she said, we feel the setback and the building separations need to be respected. Oh, and my request for a side yard variance was denied. Sincerely submitted Neil R. Winkler. So then he attached the other piece of correspondence that I have to read. This correspondence is what Babette Welch submitted for his variance back in 2014, it looks like. We are property owners, 2 houses from the Winklers. Like the Winklers, we are affected by the small, tight spacing of the houses in this neighborhood. Our lots leave little space to expand or establish separation between neighbors. With this in mind, we are concerned that the requested variance adds yet another precedence for encroachment of the property line in an area which already has crowded conditions. The height of the fence seems a non-issue. It is the request regarding the side lot setback and the building separation, which is a problem for us. In this neighborhood, house footprints are pushing near the neighbors' lot lines. We feel the setback and the building separations need to be respected and hope by a higher fence the Winklers can accomplish the privacy they are seeking. Babette Welch. And that's it with the correspondence. Did you guys have any questions for me?
Yeah, Mr. Dunn.
Thanks, Andrea. A quick question. The computation for the impervious surface, is that where the percentage is listed, is that based on the square footage of the whole lot and that determines which percentage?
Yeah, so excuse me, for the calculation for that, you take all the impervious surface on the lot and you add that up. You take that square footage and then you divide it by the open space on the lot.
So this lot's 9,900. Wouldn't that mean that it can only have 50% impervious?
No, depending on well, let me double check on what we have in here. But depending on the lot size, the impervious percentages changes. So for for this one it would be 50%. You're right.
Okay.
So there's a typo in the staff report. It should say will be less than 50%.
Okay. So, but so we do know that even with the proposed changes, it's still beneath the 50%?
Right.
Okay.
That was just a typo on my part. Sorry
Sounds
about
good.
that, and we'll need to fix that for the record.
That is fine. Does anyone else have any questions for staff on this? Yeah, Heather, go ahead. Heather, I think you're muted.
Sorry about that. Andrea, they're asking for about, is it 4.5 feet? I can't remember exactly how much on the side.
Yep, they are 3.5 feet away from the side lot line, so 3.5, well, I'm sorry, 8 minus 3.5 equals a 4.5 foot variance request.
Okay, so to build on to the back of the house, they would need to start building on the back of the house. They would have to come in. Is that right? Correct? I'm trying to figure out how they, what
I
the
can,
options would be there. Okay,
let me share the screen here.
yeah,
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
that's the part that I was confused at.
Okay. Sorry. thing was-
So as it sits right now, Andrea, just speaking on this, the house, obviously, the main existing one-story wood frame is already in the exact same location as which is, obviously outside where the setback is, but it's an old house. And they're looking to simply just build from that spot, not any further over, but from the footprint of the house, right?
Right, so the shaded area is the hand showing up on the screen for you guys?
It is.
Right,
Yes.
so this is the existing that, like you were saying, Mr. Ottaway. And then, yes, Ms. Dombrowski, right here is the proposed addition. And this is right here, the 8-foot side yard setback, and on the other side is the 5-foot side yard setback. This portion of their proposal meets the ordinance.
Yep.
So the only portion that needed a variance is this side because it doesn't meet the side yard.
Okay, thank you.
If we could leave that on screen, Andrea, because I think when we bring the applicants in, I think this is a good piece that we may be able to question off of, or at least here. So I'll have a few myself. At this point, do we have any more questions for Andrea? Well, why don't we bring the applicant aboard and speak with them at this point?
Okay. I'm just gonna stop sharing real quick so we can see them, and then I'll pop it back on.
That's fine.
Hello.
Hello there.
Greetings.
We got you guys back. We're gonna basically we're speaking right now on your case, if you didn't hear or not. But at this point, if you could state your name and address for the record, and then just kind of give us the rundown of everything that you're looking at.
Okay. My name is Greg Sipo. This is my wife,
Babette Welch.
Welch. We live at 424 Cedar Street, which is just a half a block from the property in question. And just as a sort of an overview, we purchased the house 8 or 9 years ago with the sole intent of moving into it when we were ready to retire and downsize from our current big house that we're in currently. That house is the smallest house on the block. What we're trying to do is make it a little more functional for us in our future years. We plan this to be our final house, so we are in this for the long haul. It's the sole reason that we bought this house. I've lived and improved, some say saved, 3 houses on the east side in the past 35 years. I've made a career as a builder, many of you know, doing additions and remodels that are appropriate for the house and the neighborhood. That's what I plan to do here. Yet it is change, and not everybody likes change. I understand that. But our plan is to create a single floor living space for ourselves with a master bedroom, bathroom, laundry that is reasonably handicap accessible.
Okay.
In addition, we want a little more living space over the garage for when our children and grandchildren visit. During the last year and a half of designing this remodel, we looked at various options for the garage, including a full 2-car garage in front of the house. This would be completely allowable as we would be well within the required setbacks, but this would have a much bigger impact on the street view than what we have currently planned. However, please keep in mind that the garage and the second floor portion of that are not part of this variance request, as it is fully in compliance with all setbacks. Someone could buy this house, tear it down, and rebuild it to the maximum setbacks that would be much bigger impact on the neighborhood. We've all seen this happen before. It's already happening in Marquette. It's happening here in the east side. What we're doing is much, much less than that. But the only real issue tonight is the 16-foot addition to the north that follows the existing east side of the house. This side is currently not in compliance with setback. It's a 4.5-foot encroachment. We'd like to extend the building line in line with that. I believe that is the minimal impact on the neighborhood. I'd like to close by saying I want to thank you for members of the BZA for the work you do. I've been on other commissions and boards for the city, and I know that some decisions are not easy. As you know, your job is to look at the facts and come to a reasonable conclusion. I thank you for your consideration, and we're available for questions or clarifications.
Thank you, Mr. Board, do you have any questions for the applicant? Yeah, Mr. Bass.
Yes, how'd you come up with by 16 feet addition?
It's just a reasonable size bedroom with, king size bed and a couch. And actually part of that, where 3 feet of that of 16 feet is actually going to be part of the bathroom configuration to allow for walk-in shower and toilet and double sinks and a washer and dryer.
And I think one of the problems when we're trying to make a bathroom that's accessible, it just takes a lot more floor space, with the idea of being able to move around with a walker, a potential wheelchair. We're just trying to build for the long term here. And
I don't want to redo this in 10 years.
yes.
So.
And we don't want to have to move out in 10 years if possible.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Dunn, I'm sorry.
No problem. I'm looking at the plan, and the only thing that I'm wondering is why the addition that is not in compliance, why it couldn't be shifted a couple of feet to the west, and then maybe even bringing that east wall in a couple of feet, and there you've got your 4.5 feet. Just doing a little bit here and a little bit there and trying to squeeze that over. The depth on it to the north, you could certainly pick up the additional square footage on the north side, because you're well within the boundaries there. And I'm wondering if you looked at that or considered that.
Frankly, no. we had that had never come up in discussion. That's been brought up by one of the neighbors.
Today, only today,
to my knowledge. Yeah. So, typically when I, like I said, I'm a builder. When I try to build things, it's to me, it makes more sense to follow an existing building line. It's a cleaner look. And that's what our intention was. So
the other thing, because of what the layout in the house is, where the hallway is, there's a chimney that you can't move and you have to get around, and there's not a tremendous amount of options. If we put too many jogs in, then we defeat our purpose of having easy access for a walker or a wheelchair. But
okay. Thank you. And then one additional question I had was regarding the roof lines. Since we don't require the elevation drawings, I was kind of wondering what the roof lines were on that addition.
They would follow the ridge is perpendicular to Michigan Street. It's like there's a bump out in front that has 2 bedrooms. It bumps out about 6 feet.
Saw that.
It's going to be like that, but to the back.
Okay,
It won't be that visible.
You won't see it from the street
front of the
much at
house
all.
from the street.
right. And would the ridge line of the addition match up perfectly with the ridge line on the front, or are they a little bit offset?
I believe it lines up.
No,
Okay,
in the current drawing, it lines up.
Lines up.
If we're required to push the building or the addition
To the
forward
west.
some feet to the west,
Then it
then
wouldn't
we
work.
have a totally different ridge we have to
Yeah,
deal with.
yeah.
a
Right, that's what I was
completely different roof
kind of
line.
wondering.
Yeah, yeah.
And we'd actually probably have to make the roof come up higher to be able to accommodate. I'm not sure, because we just haven't gotten there with what we'd have to do.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicants? Okay, I see none. So if we could mute the applicants for now, and we're going to open up a public hearing at this point, even though I don't think anyone's here. Let me get back to my agenda. Open up a public hearing for 07-VAR-09-20. Do we have anyone in the waiting room that's wanting to speak on this?
I do have a new person, so we'll admit them, and if they're for the other case, then
Sure.
place them back. So I'm bringing them in.
Hello? Oh, connecting. Hello, ma'am. How are you?
They're not. I'm good. I'm Chris Kipka.
Are you looking to speak on the 429 East Michigan Street?
I certainly am.
If you want to just state your name for the record and your address, and
Gonna
then
mute that.
you have 3 minutes to kind of tell us what's going on.
Sure. My husband's going to join me.
Sure.
There he is. So we're good to go.
You have to tell him. My name is Don Kipka. This is my wife, Chris. We live at 449 East Michigan Street, which is the property adjacent to and just east of the Sipo Welsh property. Also with us tonight are Fred and Kathy Maynard, our neighbors who reside at 427 East Michigan Street, directly west of the Sipo Welsh property. After a few brief comments, then we'll turn it over to Fred and Kathy.
So Bud and I, my husband, are here this evening. We'd like to strongly state our opposition to the granting of the variance for an east side yard setback on the Sipo property. A few weeks ago, Greg walked past as we were sitting on our front porch. We had a brief and socially distant conversation. And as a result, we had the impression that a variance would make sense. And we felt that our cooperation would lead to good relations with the neighbor. Later that day, when Babette came to us with a letter stating our support for the variance and asked us to sign it, we did. But at that time, we had not seen a site plan or a floor plan. Once we received the zoning ordinance, the site plan, and the floor plan from the city, we realized that the proposal was based on some inaccurate statements. The proposed variance request does not show a practical difficulty that would necessitate granting a variance. After reviewing the floor plan, we realized the addition could easily be accomplished and still comply with the current zoning ordinance by simply moving it 4.5 feet west. And that small change would still provide for the handicap access and a deck. I'd also like to add that on the floor plan that I have in front of me, my understanding was that Greg just stated that 3 feet of the addition was the shower. The floor plan I have in front of me, the shower is not next to the addition or part of it. And also he mentioned something about, it's a cleaner look just to go with the existing line. I don't think that's what we're really looking for here, is a cleaner look. He also stated that, you know, somebody could come in, tear down this house and just build a whole new house, and it would be completely disruptive to the neighbors, which I agree. But that house would then be within the zoning ordinance. It would not be 3.5 feet from our lot line. So we feel none of the reasons stated by Greg in his application prove the necessity or the justification for granting the variance. Granting the variance would negatively impact our property, we feel.
When you think about the area between the two houses, it's already in non-compliance with the zoning ordinance, which crowds both of our property lines. The north wall of both of our houses don't align. Their house is further north than our north wall by 18 feet. When you add on the additional 16 feet that they want to extend it to the north, now you're in essence having a 34-foot long wall that's 18 feet tall, that's going to protrude to the north of our house. All of that wall would then be in non-compliance with the setback requirements. So when you think of that wall, 34 feet by 18 feet, you can see how easily it would affect the amount of air circulation we have, the amount of sunlight, and the amount of privacy we have. An additional concern for us is that with the proposed roof line, where the ridge would run north and south, that water and snow is going to drain down into the area, the 3.5 feet that they're proposing, between our lot line and their house. If you were to set the house back off of that, off of our lot line by 8 feet, which is what the zoning recommends, then you would have less of an impact from the roof drainage. I don't see where anything in the floor plan would justify not moving their addition 4.5 feet to the west. It seems to me that that could easily be done, and it would then put them in compliance. In a letter to the zoning board dated July 8th, 2014, Babette asked that a similar side yard setback variance be rejected because, as she so aptly stated, and I quote, "In this neighborhood, house footprints are pushing near the neighbor's lot lines. We feel the setback and building separations need to be respected," end quote. We agree that the setback and building separations need to be respected. The rejection of the variance request would address the problems with which we are concerned. So therefore, we would respectfully ask the board not to grant the variance. And we thank you very much for your time and your consideration. Now, at this point, we want to let Fred and Kathy speak. So we'll.
Unless there are questions, are there any questions for us? Or
Okay. So we'll switch with Fred and Kathy.
Yeah, there we are. Okay, let's see. Okay, we can't hear.
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. If you could please state your name and address for us, that'd be great.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Kathy Maynard at 427 East Michigan.
And I'm Fred Maynard, Kathy's husband at 427.
Okay, I guess we have known that Greg and Babette were planning for this, and we figured there would be some kind of an addition. We didn't realize that it would require a variance to the existing code on the east side. And I do support the Kitkas, as it would definitely impact the their space. And also, I think it is good to have these codes, and we should maintain them. The other thing that I had no idea about was, I knew they wanted a garage, but I didn't know it would be a 2.5 car garage, how long it would be. And I didn't realize they were going to have a second story above the garage. Now, if you see on the map, that second story goes into I mean, it just borders our patio in this. So to have a second story there is higher. Now, we do have a hedge of cedars, but it does not go to a second story, and there'd be a window probably right there. And I just think it's a long wall. It's longer than the one that Kitkas were talking about. And a thin, narrow second story. I mean, I didn't realize they needed this much space. I think that would go much better over the existing footprint. Then it would make sense. I mean, I haven't seen a house. I've seen two-story houses and maybe the garage is one story, but I have not seen a one-story house with a two-story garage, which is long and narrow. And I think it would look better to have a one-story garage. And of course, I personally think to put it all in the front would be better. But there are certain things that maybe this lot isn't real suited for. I mean, I would have loved a garage, a two-car garage too. But the addition that was put on our house, even in the second floor over the garage, it went back to what the setback would be. So the addition that was put on maintained, where it used that setback, which is what Kitkas are requesting on the other side. I also wondered, I mean, to have such a long two-story place, it doesn't help the separation and the, and we don't know what the drainage or the snow for snow and rain are. And we haven't really seen a mock-up of what that kind of a building with a second story of that size would look like in this neighborhood. But I know Greg does fine work. It's not that we haven't wanted them as neighbors, but I wonder if this is the best lot to do all that they want to do. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. Yeah, this is Fred Maynard. I also wanted to add just a few things in summary to a long letter that we really wrote that I think puts our concerns down in detail. But to summarize some of those specific points, I would really say that I have really three main reasons why I strongly oppose granting them the variance. One is I'm completely unimpressed that it's necessary. To get the larger master bedroom on the main floor, it does not require them to stay, to take that extra 4.5 feet. They have many other design options that they could put in, perhaps not as convenient or preferable to them, but certainly not necessary. I think the handicap access is a great idea. We all are concerned about that as we get older. I agree with, they don't want to change things in the future. On the other hand, the bathroom isn't even part of the addition. I mean, the bathroom is all part of the old house. So there's no plumbing or extra issues that are necessary for that. They just want a bigger bedroom. And they could still have a bigger bedroom in other ways of designing it differently. So that's one. I just don't think that it's truly necessary. The second major objection is I completely agree with the Kitkas. I know these yards. We've spent time in all three yards, our yard, Kitka's yards, and the yard of Sipo Welsh. And the quality of the ambience of being outside in those backyards. We're all gardeners. There's a huge, beautiful, incredible birch tree that will be taken down. There's no access to the backyard, even to do the addition without tearing it all down. In addition to the old garage, it's a huge project, okay, to take on. And so we're all having to put up with a lot of problems already. And there's just no reason then to make it even worse by giving them a variance on making that even fuller than it has to be otherwise. And my third really issue is like Kathy said, the appearance of the house from the street is just dramatically altered by putting a second story above a garage. I understand the garage. I was not happy about when I heard that the garage would be 56 feet from the front to the back. Okay, which is all abutted right up to our property at 5 feet. And when it has to be a second story, if you want a second story, I thought it was a smaller house that they were going to retire in, okay? Why do they need a second story? I mean, families can stay lots of different places. It looks like an apartment that's going to be rented out, frankly, because there's 3 rooms and a bathroom up there with a separate stairway. It just isn't necessary for, and it would change the character of the houses in this area. Not only does it destroy the garden atmosphere of the backyards, but it creates a very unusual looking house with a narrow second story in the front that doesn't fit with the rest of the character of the old house that they say they're trying to preserve. So I don't get it, frankly. And I respect Greg. I know he's a great builder, and I like Greg a bit. We've always thought they were friends. But frankly, we find this extremely inconsiderate, the way it's been handled, the way it's been designed, and it's just not justified for a variance. Thank you very much, and I appreciate getting the chance to speak to you and say why we're opposing this.
Thank you to the
Any
Maynards.
questions? Yeah. Any questions?
No questions. So I just wanted to speak directly to the Maynards. There's no need to respond back. I just want you to be aware that this variance that we're hearing tonight is simply for the side yard variance. It does not have anything to do with the second story garage.
We understand that.
We have no say on that. So just wanted you to be aware of that. At this point, do we have any other people in the waiting room, Andrea?
Nope, just for the next case.
Okay. I'm going to close the public hearing then for 07 VAR-09-20. Board member comment on this. Why don't we get some discussion going? Feel free to ask Andrea to show pictures, site plans, whatever you guys may need. I am interested in what your thoughts are on this case, though. Yeah, Mr. Dunn.
Do I need to postpone rules, or can we just go right into discussion?
The board of zoning appeals is not like the planning commission. You guys can go into discussion.
Okay, thank you. I get mixed up which meeting I'm in sometimes.
Right.
No, I had some thoughts on this, and I went through the standards for approving, and I've got 4 of them actually that I don't think are satisfied on this. And so real quick, I'll just put those out there, and then we can argue about those if we need to. Special conditions, circumstances of the structure, land, or building. I did not feel that was there. I guess in the neighborhood in general, with the setbacks and the distance between the buildings being so tight, I think that could be said about the whole neighborhood, but that's not about this lot in specific. That's not unique to this lot, making a hardship. And again, this is under the standards for approving the variances, number 5, that was A, and then this is F. In regard to being unnecessarily burdensome, so making them comply with the code would be unnecessarily burdensome. That's what F says, but I don't think that this satisfies that, and that it could be moved. I understand that there's windows and they're putting in a sliding glass door there, but looking at the plans, from what I could see, there's at least a few feet on the west side where this could be slid over. And if that didn't quite get the 4.5 feet, then that east wall could be brought in just a touch, because right now that room is 16 feet wide. If you bring it in a couple of feet, you're at 13, 14 feet. There's many bedrooms out there that are much smaller than that. And so I don't want to get into designing it too much, but I guess my point is that it, with relatively small changes, this could fit within our zoning ordinance. And then H, the impact. We've heard from several neighbors that it will impact them. I looked at the plans. And we're looking at where that does border along the Kitka's yard. And it is a substantial chunk of their backyard where now this completely blank wall, or I guess I shouldn't say blank, there may be a window in there, but long stretch of wall is going to be right there inside the setback. It will obviously have an impact on the amount of light coming into that yard and also the airflow. And then the minimum variance necessary, again, this kind of relates back to the other one, but is it the minimum variance necessary? Well, I don't think it's necessary at all. Again, just by moving those walls over, I think that they can still get what they want. So that's what I had.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Anyone else have any comments or discussion?
If I may.
You may.
Okay. When I started looking at the survey drawing, I noticed that in the staff file review analysis, I think there's a little typo of square footage. I believe this comes up at some 9,000 square feet, which, as I looked at the drawings, the survey drawings from the surveyor, I noticed, I believe there's two lots that come together to form the one lot. And I noticed it was kind of strange that if you have two lots still, you still do not meet the zoning ordinance. I believe they met square footage and they met width. But I think the house sits a little wide on the property. So I started looking at, the question was a 16 by 16 foot addition. They're trying to improve the property. The two lots more space, but they still request a variance. That's, to me is a little bit of a troubling. When you run into one, you're going to run into more of these. And then the house is already sitting in the setback to begin with. We've seen this many, many times, but it's not a precedent. It's a standalone decision. So that is what it is. I concur with special privileges prohibited. I didn't see anything there. Comparison to other structures in the district, that's always, to me, it's just the specifics of the property. I think the strict compliance is unnecessarily burdensome when I listened to their roof lines and stuff like that. And then the substantial justice, the relaxation would be more just to the property owner. I've noticed we now have things on impact on light, air, fire, and flood, but we have the side setbacks have not changed, but they put more restrictions on. I believe this is the minimum necessary that would make wise design use. And then the purpose intent of the land code is they are still consistent with residential use. That's just the way I look at this. So I'd be willing to support this request. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vasso. Anyone else have comment? Yeah, Mr. Dombrowski.
Okay, can you hear me this time? Okay.
I can hear.
Okay. I agree with Mr. Dunn. I really have a problem, especially with F, that it's unnecessarily burdensome, and especially seeing the plans, don't necessarily involve the bathroom as part of that addition there. I feel that there would be something that they could do to accomplish that exact same design, just moved in to be in compliance. So I guess that's where I'm mostly stuck. And at this point, yeah, would have to have that answered before I would be able to vote yes for it.
Thank you, Mr. Dombrowski. Any other comment from board members?
Just one other note, but when I asked the applicant about whether they looked at moving it over, they hadn't even looked at moving it over. So I'm hoping that when they do, they'll be able to see a way that they can get what they want and still be in compliance with the code. I don't think it makes sense for us to go ahead and approve something just because the existing structure is into that setback. I don't feel like it makes sense to make the problem worse by adding more to it rather than trying to get it, at least giving it a really good shot to try and get it into compliance.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Yeah, Ms. Mel.
Oh, yes. I had 4 or 5 no's. Let's see. So for A, difficulty with it. It's a rental unit. If they were living there and were choosing to do this, I think it would be and giving up their permit for short-term rental, it might not be that way.
I believe
G,
they actually may be doing that as part of their plans. Not that it's necessarily written down, but they did state that this is kind of going to be their forever home.
okay. It seemed like a special privilege, possibly, for me. And the neighbors, the impact of neighbors. Is it the minimum necessary? I guess that's I. So those are my difficulties with it.
Sure. Yeah, Mr. Basso, you looking to talk?
No.
Oh, sorry. You got bright yellow all of a sudden for me, but I do have a couple comments. I think we've listed some of the big problems here that when we're looking at our required standards, just things that, you know, we always feel that need to be met. And you as a builder can come to appreciate those things. I'm sure you're well aware of them. I know you are because you've looked at the application. Anytime I look at new construction like this or addition, you know, the thing that kind of always pops up and is seemingly an issue number one for me is item C, which we haven't really discussed at all, which is not a result of actions of the applicant. Well, in this case, we have kind of discussed that this variance could be avoided if we move that property that wants to be built to the west of it. So, you know, that is just another itemized item that we're not going to be able to meet, and it is a direct result of you know, your design at this point. I do think it's a great design. I fully appreciate Mr. Sipel's thought and really looking into this. I'm just not sold that it's the minimum necessary to do the job. And that's kind of where I am with it. Other board members, any other comments, or would anyone else like to state anything or potentially make a motion?
I just want to state, I kind of echo what everyone's saying right now. I don't see why the design couldn't be moved over. And I was kind of looking at the roof lines. I checked out the property, but I just looked at it again, like some of the photos. And I know they stated about the roof lines, if they moved it, wouldn't match. But when I'm looking at it from the aerial and from the street view, and even from the photos submitted, I don't see how moving the addition over, so it's not in the setback, would affect the roof line on the front of the building. It appears that that front peak doesn't even hit the top ridge line of the roof. So I don't even see that as one of the justifications for keeping it in line with the front bump out.
Yeah, it would have to be a pretty steep roof to get to the top there, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments, or would anyone like to make a motion?
I can make a motion, but I just got to get to the right spot here.
Sure, you're fine.
Page 4.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm flipping through pages as fast as I can. All right, so I move that after conducting a public hearing and review of the staff report analysis for 07 VAR 0920, the Board of Zoning Appeals does not find that the request demonstrates the standards found in section 54.1404 B5, and specifically item
A through J.
C, F, H, and I of the Land Development Code, which the facts show, well, hold on for a second, does not meet those standards and hereby denies the variance. Sorry, that was kind of bumpy.
It's okay. We have a motion on the floor. Barb?
I would second.
Second.
We have a motion and support to deny the variance request. So we're gonna have to take a vote on this. If you are in favor of this, remember that is meaning we're gonna deny that. So all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Opposed?
Mr. Vassal. So this motion is denied, 6-1 vote. And that is the end of that hearing. So we're going to move on to hearing B, 08 VAR-09-20, which is 54 Elder Drive. Andrea, if you can give us info on that.
Sorry, give me 1 second here. Zero 08 VAR 0920 54 Elder Drive. The Board of Zoning Appeals is being asked to review an application for a 1-foot height variance from the City of Marquette Land Development Code to allow a 5-foot high, 50% open construction cedar post rail and hog panel fence located at 54 Elder Drive. Attached in the agenda was this memo and the staff file review analysis report. As shown, with the attachments such as the applicant's application with their support material, sketch of the fence, the area map. You can see that the parcel is highlighted in blue, and this is a corner lot fronting on Elder Drive and Center Street.
Okay.
The block map, again, the parcel is outlined in blue. Photos of the site. And their sketch of the proposed portion of the fence that would require variance is in red. The portion that would be in the rear yard is shown in green.
Okay. Anyone have questions for Andrea?
Andrea, if this was not a corner lot, you know, if they were just sitting in between, would this be a fence that would be allowed?
Sorry, if they were just putting it in their rear yard, then that would be correct.
I get confused about the 5 foot sometimes.
Yeah, currently the ordinance only allows for a 4-foot high in the front and side areas with the 50% open construction.
And then it goes, I have a question for you, Andrea. Then it goes to 8 feet, 6 feet or 8 feet?
6 feet.
6 feet.
When you're in
Okay.
the rear yard area. And actually, with their sketch, the portion that is the rear of their home goes from the front line of the dwelling, and then that's the rear yard. So there's a portion that's showing in the green would actually, I believe, be requesting for a variance since they're wanting to put it right next to the lot line.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Andrea, why don't you bring the applicants in if you can? Oh.
Okay, I'm bringing them both in.
Hello. Can you hear us okay?
Yes.
Yep. Can you hear?
I'm assuming that was your child that was on the other screen, I hope.
Oh boy. We hope not, but we can't guarantee it.
I think it might have been. So go ahead. So at this point, if you could just state your name and address for the record and kind of tell us about what you're looking to do.
My name is Kara Brunk and I live at 54 Elder Drive. I'll be right
And
back.
address for the record and kind of tell us about what you're looking to do.
And my name is Forrest Carr, and I also live here at 54 Elder Drive. I'm Kara's husband. First, I would just want to thank the Board of Zoning Appeals for your time and your consideration of our request. Never asked for a variance before, so I didn't fully understand the process, but I appreciate all the work and effort that you all put in to this. So basically, we just are concerned about the part of our property along Center Street. It's a street that's kind of a corridor for people who are accessing the bike path that runs along the Center Drive or the Elder Drive Circle. And so a lot of people that are going there to walk or run or walk their pets are going right by that part of our yard on the south side of our yard every day. And that includes roller skiers and bicyclists and people with strollers and children and other dogs. And we recently got a puppy in August, and puppy's very young, so it's not a problem right now, but we know that it's a breed, it's called a poodle pointer, that is going to be able to probably jump over a 4-foot fence. And particularly when there's any kind of snow, we think it'll be able to easily jump over the 4-foot fence. And we just wanted to create a safe environment for our neighbors and the public in general, and just ensure that the dog stays in the yard as we all hope. And we thought that this was the easiest way to do it. And if we had the upper half of the fence be an open type fence, that it wouldn't create much visual change. And so this was our proposed solution to that we could have a 1 foot higher fence, but well, you can see the sketch there. So, and I think that's really it. We don't have any other reason for doing this. We've talked to, I think, all of our neighbors at one time or another. Most of them have come over to pet the puppy, and when we've done that, we've just explained to them what we're planning to do. And we didn't ask anybody to sign a letter of support. We didn't want to really create work for people. We're hoping that by investing in a quality fence, that it actually increases the value of homes in the neighborhood. And we did talk to our neighbors about it, and they all seem supportive as far as we know. And so this was our proposal, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Jeremy, you're muted.
Sorry, I'm talking again. Thank you guys so much. Mr. Dunn, go ahead first. You're muted now. Michael, you're muted.
How about now?
You're good now.
Okay, sorry about that. The quick question was, I am wondering, I just want to be sure that strip of yard that is outside of the fence, if this gets approved, that it's not sort of forgotten, kind of out of sight, out of mind. That tends to happen a lot. So I just wanted to put that out there to make sure that that area is still maintained if this gets approved.
Yeah, that would be our intent. Actually, our neighbors right across Center Street on the other side have a fence there, and they have trees on the outside of the fence, and they take great care of their yard, and they actually have flowers planted on the outside of the fence and everything. So that would be our intent.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, Barb, go ahead.
On the north, I think that would be your north side of your house. You're going to have that same fence going across between your neighbors and your house then too?
That would be a gate, and it's on the
It's on the north side.
on the map. It's in the back of our house. You'll see an orange circle
right
for the gate for the fence exit on that end would be, it would also propose to be 5 feet tall, but it's not at the front.
It would also go from there to the part that you don't need the variance for, right? The green part?
Oh,
Yes.
Go all the way around it?
from that spot where the little orange dot is on the north side,
Uh-huh.
back to the back lot line, there's already a 6-foot fence
Oh.
that's there that our neighbors had put in. So we didn't need to put in a fence there.
Okay,
So that gate would attach to the neighbor's fence.
sure.
And also, I don't think we were very clear enough in our write-up maybe, but even on the back lot line, which is up against the green space there, that would be a 5-foot fence too. Even though we could build it to 6 feet, we would just keep a consistent height all the way around was the intent there.
Sure. Thank you.
Andrea?
So if I may, for clarification purposes, I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So where that, can you guys see the cursor here?
We can.
Okay. So the area here that they're saying it doesn't require variance, that does require variance because that's still in the front yard.
Oh, okay.
So this is all that front yard. So, I mean, this is still what they applied for, but I didn't make it clear into the report that this is the area that would be for the variance along with this. And then once you get past the front line of the home into the rear yard, then this is the portion that would meet the ordinance.
Okay.
I just wanted to clarify that because I realized that I didn't as well into the staff
We
report.
were under the impression
I
that
thought
that section would be, the green area could be 6 feet tall. So thanks for the clarification. I didn't realize that when we were, so.
Yeah, so
Okay.
this, because of the corner lot, you have these two front yards. And the way that for fences, the way it works is your existing line of the dwelling with this front line. So this whole area outside of the blue can only be 4 foot high. And then the area in the side yard can only be 4 foot high. But then once you get to this area here, that's your rear yard area.
Okay, so I guess, yeah, I guess we're requesting more extensive section of our fence to be 5 feet instead of 4.
But I mean, nothing has to change with the notices or anything because they were showing us that this whole area is the 5 foot fence. It's just for clarification purposes, I wanted to let you know that this portion in that front yard, all of it is what would be a portion that would be for a variance request.
Do we have any other questions for the applicant? Yeah, Jill, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask if they had thought about, and you already mentioned the snow, which was what I was thinking about. Once we get 2 feet of snow, it's gonna be a 3-foot fence, right? So I was wondering if you had considered putting off the south end of the sunroom at 6 feet and bring it to the southernmost property line on Center Street and then back and as existing. If it's truly for the dog, and I think you're gonna find the dog will jump. I mean, what will you be doing if the dog gets out then and it's 5 foot?
The area where our dog would be let out, which is our back door to the north of the sunroom, is a patio area that's about 3 feet. There's steps from that lower patio area up to our upper part of our yard. And when the snow comes, what usually happens is we snow blow the patio area, but there's a pretty high area of snow around the patio that it would be hard for a dog to walk through, I think. At certain times of the year, it won't be hard for the dog to walk through, but I think for most of the winter, it will be like that. That's what we're envisioning. There's going to be times where it's kind of in between times, but yeah, the section where those lights are, the string of lights in the back there is a lower section from our lawn. There's about, is it 4 or 5 steps that you walk up to get to the upper portion of our lawn.
It's a good point though, and a good suggestion that we should think about on the back yard. If we can go up to 6 feet, we could. We thought that 5 feet would accomplish what we were hoping, and without having the fence be different heights. So but it is a good point.
Any other questions, guys? Well, I do have a question for you. It sure seems to me like you guys have put a lot of time and thought into this fence. What made you come to this design, and do you plan on using a specific builder in doing it?
We've been in touch and have an estimate from Marquette Fence Company, and they're aware that we're talking with you today. I looked at a lot of different fence designs, and I think aesthetics are really important to us. We could have gone with an aluminum ultra fence, and we just felt like this had more character and was not just your kind of standard cookie cutter fence. And we would like to stain it with a kind of a opaque stain that lets some of the wood grain show through, but that kind of blends in with the color of our home. And as soon as it's constructed, that was a really important. I looked at I found some different fence designs like this and showed them to the fence company, and they had just built one with hog panels. So they were familiar with that, and they could show me something that they had built. And then that made me feel comfortable about what it would look like aesthetically, that it wasn't going to just look like a farm fence, that was going to be kind of more modern looking.
Thank you. Well, any other questions for the applicants? Okay, I think we can mute the applicants then, and we can open up a public hearing for 08-VAR-09-20. Andrea, do we have anyone that's in the waiting room for this?
No, nobody's in the waiting room right now.
Good. Then we'll close the public hearing for 08-VAR-09-20. Board members, what is our thoughts on this request? Yeah, Mr. Basso.
Just like I say, I concur with the applicant's written response of A through J, and I can support the request.
You, sir.
I feel the same way because a corner lot is an odd kind of a place anyway. So I think that would even give them a lot of privacy too. And I agree with the applicants A through J.
I would also like to state that I agree with the applicants' items A through J, and I appreciate that they've left majority of the top half open. I know we see a lot of like the vertical slats, but I think with the design they have, they're trying to keep that openness. So even though they're going beyond the 4 feet, it's still going to have an open feeling. They thought about it, and they're trying to keep their dog safe and the public safe.
Any other questions, comments, or anything? I guess I will make a comment. I also believe this meets A through J. I think that it's a very peculiar lot, especially on Elder. Been through there quite a few times, as probably everyone else on this board has. It's strange being on a corner right there. You're losing the opportunity to put a large fence up, but I will very much appreciate the applicant in actually choosing that type of fence, because it is actually not taking away that much site space, which is great. So I think they've done everything minimally as possible to try to give themselves the exact same things as their neighbors. So I'm all for this as well. Barb, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
After conducting a public hearing and review of staff report analysis for 08 VAR 0920, the Board of Zoning Appeals finds that the request demonstrates the standards found in section 54, 1404B5 A through J of the Land Development Code, and hereby approves the 08 VAR 0920 as presented.
Or
We have a motion and a support, I believe, from Mr. Vassal. Do you guys have any comments on that? You want to make any further comment, Barb?
No.
Mr. Vasso, any further comment?
no, sir.
Okay, then we're going to go ahead and take a vote. We have a motion and support for granting the variance. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I
Any opposed? The variance request is approved. Thank you so much for your time. We're going to go ahead and move forward on the agenda and get to, what do we got, unfinished business? Do we have any unfinished business tonight, Andrea?
No, really quick, I'm gonna put you guys in the waiting room unless you want to speak. You're the only public left.
What?
For the last public comment.
Yeah, you guys can leave if you'd like, unless you'd like.
Thank you for your service.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right. Sorry, Mr. Ottaway. I just wanted to make sure before I removed him.
I just kind of figured they'd jump off, to be honest with you. Unfinished
Start
business.
putting in that fence.
I don't have any unfinished business.
No new business. Obviously, we don't have any citizens wishing to. Oh, Mr. Vasso, go ahead.
Yes, I'd just like to address last month's meeting. I got my dates mixed up, and that's why I went down as unexcused. And I was just wondering if we could change that part. I changed jobs and was working in Western Marquette County and stuff like that. So I know it sounds kind of crazy, but I got my dates mixed up with the last meeting. That's why I wasn't there.
Sorry, technically, you should have said something before we approved the minutes.
Oh, okay. It is what it is.
It's happened before for other people, so.
Yeah, Mr. Vasso, I wouldn't be too concerned with that.
Yeah.
You never miss meetings, so I don't think any of us are concerned by it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Cool.
You have a pretty good attendance record here, so.
All right.
Any other new business?
I guess you'd want to remind everybody of that special one on September, whatever, 17th, is it?
Yep.
At 7?
Right. I was going to wait till board member comments, but if you wanted, yep, the special meeting in 14 days from now, September 17th at 7 p.m. I'll send out the agenda next week for the one case requesting this special meeting.
And what is that case?
It's on Altamont Street, and I don't know if before we have the meeting, I shouldn't be giving too much, but it's a variance request for an addition to a garage.
Okay. Okay. Do we have anyone in the waiting room? I'm assuming no.
No.
Okay.
Adjourn.
Any other board member comments before we adjourn? All right, we can adjourn the meeting. You guys have a great night. Have a great Labor Day also.
Thanks. You too.
Good night.
Thanks, guys.
Hanging in there.
Bye.
That was a long one. Take care, guys.